Hey, thanks everyone for joining us on Rockland News' inaugural video podcast. We've been ramping up for this for a while, and I'm pleased to introduce our first guest for our video series of podcasts, Beth Cefalu from Rockland County Executive's Office, Communications Director for Rockland County, as well as John Lyon, who is the Chief of Staff for Rockland County. So, guys, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, we're so excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
And first guests, we feel very special.
Yeah, I wanted to start with the high water sort of thing and just keep it going. So I had a bunch of questions, most specifically about the upcoming global rhythms, but I also noted over the last month and a half that you and Jenna Nazario started a podcast series, the Rockland Roundtable.
We did, just like you're doing a video podcast, we launched one for the county because we've been trying to figure out ways to expand how we communicate things for the county to the public. Things are changing, the way people internalize and digest their information is changing, and that's really where the idea came from. So we started working on it probably last year after the state of the county and took time to build out the studio. And then we launched it this year, and it's been great. John actually was a guest on one of the episodes about housing. It was a great episode.
Yeah.
But it's been going well. We've done probably a handful of episodes so far. Housing was one that John was on. We touched on environmental resources. But really, the best part is to really dive into how the county works and operates and give people a closer look at what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that you've covered thus far, definitely the traffic and safety episode, that's something very near and dear to my heart. We won't talk about it today, but traffic is something that's affected my family over the course of time, and safety is of the utmost importance to me, so I'm really glad that's happening. You also talked about workforce housing and affordable housing, so we're going to be getting into that today. Are there any other episodes, not to preview it too much because I know you don't want to put anything out too soon, but are there any upcoming episodes for the podcast that you're planning over the next few weeks?
Yeah, so actually the next episode that'll air the fourth week of May, I believe it's May 20th, but they air on the second and fourth Wednesdays every month. So the next episode will be actually about tourism and economic development, and it will be a deeper dive into the Global Rhythms Festival that we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
So that one is an interview with Jenna. We also have episodes coming up with the RBA, the IDA, I'm trying to think of what other episodes we have.
There's a lot of acronyms out there.
There's a lot of acronyms. The Rockland Business Association, the Industrial Development Agency. We also have an episode where we ask people to submit questions and comments. So there's an episode coming up where we tackle some of those that were submitted by the public. So those are some of the episodes.
And that's what really sort of excited me about the idea of doing this podcast is it's so difficult to reach people who live here. Everyone has such busy lives. They are taking care of their kids, they're taking care of their, they might have aging parents that they're helping. So finding a new way to reach them and give them an opportunity to hear more than just a 30-second blurb about something that they're interested in. And these episodes, the same with yours. Not everyone's interested in every topic that you're talking about.
Right.
But if you can give them an opportunity to get educated on what the county is doing, what's going on in Rockland, it's really impactful to have this tool in our toolbox to be able to reach people in a different way.
Yeah, I actually think it's good because, so let's just say the topic that we did on housing with John, I feel like when it comes to government, there's a lot of stigma associated with it. People don't trust government anymore, and it gives us an opportunity to put more faces to the people that are working for the communities that we serve.
Right. Yeah, I tend to notice as entities get larger and larger, there always needs to be more transparency just to let people know that there's not things that are happening behind the scenes. They're all, first of all, documented, of course, but certainly people are communicating what is happening. One of the good examples is, especially from last year, is the county's comprehensive plan. I remember going to a few of the workshops, and you guys had sticky notes for people to write in how they want the county to play out. I think it's the first one since, was it 2010 or 2015 that the comprehensive plan?
Yeah, 2011 was when we adopted our last comp plan, and we really made an effort this time around to do a lot of that extra outreach and meet people where they're at. We had those public events mostly at town halls, but we did them in every town in the county. We had pop-up events. We were going to street fairs across the county all last summer, just making people aware of what was going on, what we were working on, and what a comprehensive plan really is, because that's a term that not everyone's familiar with.
Right.
But it's really exciting what the county has done. I thank you for your input, and a great thing, we got 1,000 digital responses through the Envision Rockland website about the comp plan, and all that public input, we're treating it like it should be treated. It's very important, because this is what matters to the people who live in our community. So all the recommendations in the comprehensive plan, which we're hoping to finalize this summer, we should finalize this summer and have it formally adopted by the county legislature. All these recommendations came from your ideas, from the public's ideas, from the people who live here and are impacted by the decisions that we make.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a long process, but it's been an exciting process.
Yeah, probably a lot of sleepless nights too, because you have to grab all that data, you got to drop it into databases and make sure that they're organized.
There's such interesting data in the comprehensive plan on where we were in 2011 and where we are now and what's changed in our county, because we've all seen the changes. They've been anecdotal. You know, I drove down the street and I saw this thing. Seeing it in the black and white tables of the data can be really eye-opening in a lot of cases. But having that is so important, because that's the justification for how and why we're making decisions and what we're focused on, because we see what the challenges are. I'm going to lead into talking about housing a little bit. You know, the county population since 2011 grew almost 8%, but the countywide housing stock grew 4%.
Right.
And that's what's led to some of the more negative housing impacts that people see, of like overcrowded, or someone on their single family neighborhood sold their home, and instead of a family living there or two people living there, now it's an overcrowding situation, or some of those things that really impact your neighborhood, really bother people. But that's because there aren't better options for people to move into, because ultimately the people who are living here, they're working here, and we need them to keep working here, at the grocery store, mowing your lawn, being the home health aide. Those things are so important, and it's so challenging. Everyone I know feels the challenge, the crunch right now between inflation, costs. It seems like costs for everything.
I am never using DoorDash ever again.
The fees.
You pay double for pretty much anything you order on DoorDash.
I was gonna go. I went to take an Uber from here to Nanuet one day. $73. Unbelievable. So definitely, you know, costs have risen, absolutely. And what's interesting, you mentioned about the housing component. We had Village of Nyack Mayor Joe Rand on several months ago. And he followed up with Mike Kohut, who they have the development that's being put in the Haverstraw Chair Factory. I think they got a green light for the pilot program over there. And Mayor Joe Rand, he mentioned that the inventory is lacking by about 7,500 units in terms of homes that need to be built. Off the cuff, do we know what that number is now? I know there's been development over the last year and a half. Do we know what that number is now, as far as?
If anything, it's probably grown.
Really?
The challenge that you face with development in general, or if you're talking about a workforce or an affordable housing development, is there are cycles for grants and supportive funding, and for you mentioned a pilot.
Yeah.
Those types of, the pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes, which is often critical to have a workforce affordable housing development built, just because in order to not charge a market rate, charge something that's slightly lower for people who are just making less money, you need other forms of subsidy. Not a direct subsidy to the people living there, but a subsidy to the developer to lessen their costs, so that they can provide what is essentially a really critical community service. It's just really challenging. And the development timeline, just going through a planning board approval process on its own, can take a year and a half, depending on the back and forth, depending on the backlog in each individual municipality. And then you mix in, if you're seeking state grant funding, or some of the federal programs that are available that are really helpful, they have a month-long application once a year. And then if you miss that, you have to wait for the next time around.
Right.
So in the development scale and timeline, these projects can take 5 or 6 years, and that's a pretty quick turnaround for some of these things.
Average share factor, I think they mentioned it's a 3 to 4 year development cycle for that facility down there.
And that's something that's been considered since I first moved to the county in 2006. That site was defunct, and different people in different places were talking about, how do we get this redeveloped, how do we do this?
And it's still not done yet.
And it's still not done yet.
Yeah.
It's still not done yet. And it's a place that is, will be really beneficial because it's providing a lot of units. It's the majority of it will be affordable units, so you have to income qualify for it. But looking at the incomes that people are talking about, I definitely want to touch on that, because people think affordable housing is the same as low income housing.
Right, it's a different.
And it's totally different. It's, when you're in an affordable unit, and there's different rates, it can be 80% of the area median income, which is based on what people make in the area that you live, what their total annual income is. There are rates that are really low, like 30%. That's for someone who's probably working in a minimum wage job. Maybe they have a family, maybe they're living on their own, but you have to income qualify to live there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show that you're making that amount. You can't make too much, you can't make too little. So for a lot of people, it's a really narrow window to qualify to live in one of those places. But the way it helps our broader community is so important, and is a message I want to clearly say today, is we need people who are working at the gas station, at the grocery store, as a home health aide, as a bus driver, and those people cannot afford to live in market rate housing.
Right.
It is just not possible on the salary that they make.
No.
If you don't have the affordable housing, it actually increases the cost for everything around you, because you don't have people. There is subsidies, but also people that are paying less for the rent or the home that they live in order to be able to take care of whatever that particular profession is, the auto mechanic, technician, whatever have you.
Yeah. And it has so many other impacts beyond just where they can afford to live. It impacts volunteerism. Like our volunteer fire departments, EMS corps, those types
Mm-hmm.
of things, but more knock-on effects of a friend of mine was volunteered to coach his kids, I think, baseball team. And that league that his child was in, they couldn't find enough coaches for the other teams. So he ended up coaching 2 different teams in the same league because they couldn't find another parent who had the time to volunteer to be a coach.
Right.
Because there's so many people to afford to live in Rockland right now. They're working 2 jobs. They have a side hustle. They're driving for Uber. They're driving for Lyft. They're finding some other way to make money to afford the rent, afford the cost of everything. It's just really challenging right now. And it has all these spider web effects like throughout the entire community that you don't necessarily see right away, but really make a difference.
Well, I want to also tie this into the activities that are happening in Rockland County over the course of time. One of the biggest drivers of Rockland's economy is tourism. And from what I understand, I remember this is something that County Executive Ed Day mentioned many times over the course of the last several years, is that because of the county's tourism, $500 in tax gets saved by each individual inside of Rockland County. If that statistic is correct, is that?
Yeah, so they save about $680 a year.
$680 now, okay.
In services,
Yeah.
the average household, that's the estimate. Tourism is so important. People hate tourism because they hate the traffic and everything that it brings along with it.
I like it as long as there's music.
I'm with you, but they don't realize the fact that it offsets costs for everything else. And on top of that, think of the local businesses, right? We're talking about how everything is so expensive, people can't afford much. I'm definitely going out less and spending less because everything is so much more expensive. So think of all these businesses that are here now trying to survive and make it. You need people from outside the area to come and spend money and help them thrive. Because the last thing you want, if they close down, there's such a huge ripple effect that comes with that.
There absolutely is. I've noted over the years, and the county tourism, I worked with the county tourism office for a lot of years for our Stony Music Fest series, then now Rockland Music Fest. And there's a lot of organizations that work with the county tourism. This particular year, there's a bit of a new vision in town, and it's called Global Rhythms. And it seems like there's going to be one heck of a party this summer. So I know you're going to be talking a lot more about this on the Rockland Roundtable, but maybe you can help preview what's to come over the summer.
That's right. So we will have a lot more detail on the Rockland Roundtable podcast with Jenna Nazario, who was supposed to be here today to talk about all of this, but unfortunately she had something that came up. But essentially, what she created is actually really brilliant. So the FIFA World Cup is coming to the area this summer. And what she did was launch Global Rhythms as a parallel street festival that's going to come and be paired up with the games and try to attract and capitalize on the, without a doubt, huge amount of tourists that are going to be in the area for the FIFA World Cup. Because people don't just come for the games, because the tickets are so expensive. So there's a lot of people that just come to the area just to experience, just to be in the area when the game is happening.
Yeah, it's like $1,500 or $1,800.
I saw tickets for like $3,000.
Yeah, right.
So,
for one game.
for one game, and I don't know teams, I don't know FIFA, but you know, I'm sure they're all that expensive.
Well, last year we had the opportunity to apply for state grant funding in support of what we are doing, so we really jumped at that. I manage most of the county's grant applications across the department, so I worked with Jenna on and our grant writer on applying for this, because this is near and dear to my heart. I love soccer. I grew up playing soccer.
Oh, it's
like,
your
World
fault.
Cup's
Oh, so
gonna
this
be
is all,
it's all
you.
it's partly
Tell
my
us
fault.
more.
Yeah.
It's part, if you want to blame someone, I guess you can.
Well,
Well, no,
guys
my
did-
relatives
you guys
are
did a
all
great
into
job.
soccer, so they love it.
They did a great job because we were one of a handful of counties in the entire state that actually received this grant.
Yeah.
Well, we're in an ideal situation where, if anyone wants to dive deep down this rabbit hole, go look at what a hotel in New York City costs right now around one of the times that a game is being played at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, and you'll be blown away by the rates. But we're so close to MetLife. There are so many games being hosted there. The World Cup final is actually going to be hosted there at July 19th. But you could say maybe I was a little bit selfish because I've been watching soccer for so long, and I always see during telecasts of games, they're like, here's the watch party where people are in Times Square where they're watching the game. They have a huge screen set up, and there's sound systems and an incredible party.
It's huge. I mean, it's even
experience.
bigger than football.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Oh, globally, there's no
yeah.
comparison. But you always see these great things, and I'm like, why aren't we doing that? So we went out, we applied for this grant money, we got awarded the grant money, we put extra money in our budget to support this, because this is a really once in a lifetime opportunity.
It really is.
For our area to capture these people that are coming from overseas, coming from other areas of the country. There's teams from all over the world that are playing at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So let's not have them just pass through or pass by Rockland. Let's give them an opportunity to enjoy other games, come here, spend their money, patronize our restaurants, go to our shops, and make the most out of this opportunity when we have the chance.
Yeah. And it bothers the heck out of me that Rockland has, over the years been considered that pass-through county, because you got a lot of great natural resources here, beautiful parks, obviously a lot of activities. And with the name of it, we're talking Global Rhythms. Is there a music component to this? We were at a Nanuet Chamber of Commerce meeting last night, and they were talking about that they were going to have some musical events around the time of the Global Rhythms Festival. Is there music associated with this?
Well, there are going to be giant street festivals. There's going to be 4, and they'll be in different parts of the county. Actually, have locations. So June 13th will be in the Village of Suffern. June 27th will be Pearl River. July 5th, Village of Nyack. And then July 19th in Nanuet. And those are just part of the street festivals that we're throwing. That doesn't include, different events, kind of like you described, that some local businesses might have as watch parties and stuff. So.
And some of those villages and hamlets, to their credit, they're sort of taking this and running with it and looking to build upon what the county's starting. But we're really excited, and you'll notice that a lot of those places were places that have access to the train.
Yes.
As much as our train services
Mentioned
can
4
be
different
challenging.
train locations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So giving another opportunity for people nearby who might be staying nearby to come, who are traveling from elsewhere, who may not have rented a car, who are relying on public transportation, trying to make it a little bit easier to get more of those people here in Rockland and spend their money and take part in these great festivals that are going to go on.
It's smart. It's gonna be great. We see how well our street fairs do, just normal street fairs. So these are gonna be, I can't
Very
wait to see what's
expansive,
around.
I can only imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And it's part of the thing that I like about living in Rockland County is just having a lot of activity during the spring, summer, fall, and then we try to get through winter as quickly as possible.
This one's been a little harder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Another great sort of summer opportunity that I did want to touch on if we can, the summer ferry service between Havistraw and Austining Metro North.
Bring up transportation.
Yes, just announced that they're supporting that summer weekend service again. So you can take the ferry from Memorial Day up until Halloween. They extended it a little bit. They ended it at around Columbus Day last year, and it was a missed opportunity because so many people do want to come to Rockland for fall festivals, fall foliage. People from Rockland want to go to Westchester to the river villages, to Sleepy Hollow, for Tarrytown, to those Halloween events that go on. But Rockland runs a free supportive shuttle bus service on our Transport of Rockland bus service. So it meets every ferry when it arrives in Havistraw, and will take you direct to the village of Havistraw. It can take you down to the village of Nyack, to the Palisades Center, to the Garner Arts Center, really making it much easier for people who take that ferry to get around, because we want to support those tourism efforts, because it really does make a difference in the costs that people have to pay locally. Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask you in the realm of transportation, and you mentioned the train lines going in and out of Rockland. We have a colleague of ours, John Ross, from Rocklanders for Alternatives to Driving. He's the most selfless individual that I've met in the last 5 years. Like, he really cares, and he gets it about just quality transportation in and out of the county. Are there any other initiatives that the county is following up on? I know that there's transportation safety, which I mentioned is a very important component. I also note that there's going to be streetscape that's happening up and down Route 9W this summer. Champlain Hudson Power Express is largely done with their activities, putting the pipeline in. Clarkstown got a grant for, I believe, $1.8 million to do traffic studies and such. Any other traffic-related initiatives that are happening in Rockland, either in the form of repaving, construction, new roadways?
I mean, we have our highway department has a strong paving program for county roads that we post about on our Facebook page all the time.
Yeah, so if you look on there, we're always updating it.
There's always detours, there's always challenges, but to get a freshly paved road, sometimes you have to put up with a little bit of pain along the way. But I'll jump back to the comprehensive plan for a second. Is one of the recommendations that we're seeing, because traffic is such a challenge in Rockland, particularly going east-west, any of the major state corridors, which are hard because we don't control them. It's beyond the county, it's beyond the towns and villages. It's up to the state to make those determinations of, are they improving this road this year or not? And balanced across the whole rest of New York State, it's hard to get ourselves prioritized. But one of the recommendations is that we do a countywide traffic study and assessment and work on traffic light synchronization for all the traffic signals. So that's something we're going to be working to probably move to the next step of a study that's just focused on those challenges, because that's one of the larger things that we face. And right now, just for everyone's clarity and understanding, each individual municipality, each town in the county controls the synchronization of their traffic signals. So there's no one system. If you're passing from the edge of Clarkstown into the edge of Ramapo or Havistraw or Orangetown or Havistraw to Stony Point, those lights aren't talking to each other. They're not synchronized. And it's great that Clarkstown is doing that, because that's one of the areas that people feel it the most, because a lot of people go there to shop, for the restaurants, for the malls, those types of things. It'll be great to see what Clarkstown is able to do, because traffic infrastructure has come such a long way with the advent of AI, with the new systems we have. So if we're experiencing like a real backup because of an accident somewhere else, you can change how those lights are structured to facilitate just getting that traffic moving much more quickly when you're able to respond like that. Like most of our traffic signals now, they have a set schedule, and that's how they work all the time. There could be one car waiting to make that left turn, or there could be 50 cars waiting to make that left turn, and that light is not going to change how it operates.
And that's at that light.
Yeah, I think we've all been at that light,
We've all been at that
said
light,
some
it's
words,
true.
said some words that we're not going to repeat here today,
No.
because it is such a frustration.
It
You're
is.
like, why won't it stay green longer? Well, it's dumb infrastructure. It's not thinking. So having that little bit of AI assistance, having those signals tied together is going to make a really big difference. But I know people need to see it to believe it. So bear with us for a little while. But on the rail line stuff, it's a really exciting time, because partly thanks to John Ross and I think his Facebook group, Rocklanders for Alternatives to Driving.
Yes, that's right.
They've done such great advocacy locally at the state level. The state is starting their west of Hudson, I think it's like their train study. They kicked that off earlier this week with a virtual call that some of our folks from Rockland County were on. So we're excited to see how that develops. But the really exciting thing for Rockland, and it won't be a reality for another 20 years realistically, are the improvements that are going on from the Gateway Tunnel. The Bergen Loop is a piece of infrastructure that's included right now in the phase 2 of all the Gateway Tunnel projects. The tunnel's being worked on right now, and this is the tunnel under the Hudson River. And what the Bergen Loop piece of infrastructure will do is it will create, right now if you take the train from Rockland, you have to transfer in Secaucus and get on a different train to go into the city.
Familiar with that train?
Yes. The Bergen Loop will eliminate the need to transfer. So you will be able to get on the train in
one seat.
In a one-seat ride in Sloatsburg, in Suffern, in Nanuet, Pearl River, Spring Valley, and not have to transfer. And that is going to be life-changing for the people who are making that commute right now and making that commute then, and for really all of Rockland, because that will put us on an even playing field with a lot of the east of Hudson service that is so much more frequent, so much faster, because you don't have to transfer. And it's really going to be a game changer for our region and enable a lot more tourism. And I would expect anyone living near one of those train stations is going to see their home prices spike in value.
I think they'll be happy about that.
I think they'll be happy
fairly
about
certain
that
about that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's
people are just not happy about the thought of more people coming here, but it's gonna happen. I think people forget that we're in such close proximity to the city, but a far enough distance that people can enjoy having that suburban lifestyle. The people are gonna come here no matter what. So.
And that's our challenge now. There's a lot of people who moved to Rockland because of they came here for the parks, they came here for the open space, the quiet, and we're trying to, at the county level at least, balance those factors.
It's a balance, yeah, absolutely. And I remember and my my degree is in history back at Ramapo College, which I found out after college translated to, "Hi, would you like some coffee with that?" But the thing that I really noted is just the migration of populations over the course of time. So when the original Tappan Zee Bridge was built, I think it was in '55, all right, it increased Rockland County's population by I think like 300% over the course of several decades. So, and this was just me just looking at the landscape years ago with the new bridge being built, as well as residential housing and traffic just growing, and then of course COVID, we don't even want to talk about that, but it just caused just exponential migration into the county.
It did, yeah.
Do you have, are there any estimates from the studies that Rockland County has done on what the population amount would be, let's say 10, 20 years from now. I know right now it's approximately 340, 350.
Yeah, I think 338 and change is where we're at right now. The comprehensive plan has a few different estimates. There's a low, a medium, and a high range. That over the next 20 years, I think the top of the high range is about 380,000, which is a more significant number. And right now, the infrastructure doesn't exist in the county to support that type of population growth, but it's on the radar. So it depends on a lot of factors. And if it's exactly like it's been for the last 5 years, it's been a very interesting 5 years.
Yeah.
Mentioning COVID and what happened in Rockland in response to that, with so many people from the city moving up here, it was the population definitely spiked in that moment. But we have to prepare for it, and we have to think about it, we have to talk about it, because a lot of the challenges we face right now are because we didn't appropriately prepare for the population growth that we've experienced. Getting back to those numbers, 4% growth in housing units, 8% growth in population.
Yeah.
That creates challenges across the board.
And there was somebody on our Facebook, so we launched an affordable housing campaign to fight the stigma that's associated with what affordable housing actually is. On one of the posts recently, somebody had commented that we need to stop building housing because the more housing we build, the more people who are going to come here. But they don't realize, like that stat that you just brought up underscores, it doesn't matter if we build the housing, people are moving here no matter what, which is why you have the issues that we see that we all don't love to see, which is the overcrowding issues.
Right.
People want to come here because they know somebody here, they have family members, friends. It's a beautiful county. Why wouldn't they want to live here? And they're going to come regardless. So it's not that we're building more housing and it's going to bring more people here. People are coming here regardless.
Rockland's a great place.
It
a lot
is,
of people want to move here, want to live here. It's just really challenging to afford to live here right now.
But that also comes down to the supply, right? So you don't have the supply to meet the demand that's here, and that's also why it's so expensive. And you see studios for $2,700 a month.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even my mom lived in Stony Point for 30 plus years, and eventually, and it made good sense. Now she's living in Highland Falls, nice place, but and a little bit of a lower price point too. So it just made sense having that housing inventory. And again, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, workforce housing is, it's great to have the 4 or 5 bedroom huge luxury home, but having those 1 and 2 bedroom, maybe 3 bedroom condos, nice, well done. And the technology has changed from 30, 40 years ago, where you can make things efficiently and still have a comfortable setting. I mean, we're sitting in one right now. So,
well, and by and large, the way family sizes have changed over the last 20, 30 years is really significant. Where it used to be where an average family size was between 3 and 4 people, the nuclear family. 2 parents, 2 kids, and a dog. And
now it's modern family.
Now it's in a whole different situation where, my wife and I, we are child-free by choice, not having kids, but we live in a 2-bedroom apartment. And years ago, that 2-bedroom apartment would probably be 3 people, 2 parents and a child. And now it's not. So just that change in family size equates to a need for more housing, because we're still living here. We're going to keep living here. People are going to keep living here. That population is not going to decrease. So just the change in family size, the change in those dynamics equates to the need for more housing, more 1 and 2 bedroom apartments or condos.
You need a mix. You need a little bit of everything.
Yes.
It's not one size fits all.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what we need to get to, probably Joe Rand's point, is we need housing that is available at every different range, from that 4 to 5 bedroom, I'll say McMansion, maybe that was a term that was used.
Well, and think if there was an affordable place here, your mom could have downsized and stayed local, but she probably couldn't afford it. She had to move a little bit further out.
She was so tied to that house.
Yeah, and a lot of seniors are facing that same issue. They want to downsize like she did, but they have nowhere to go. And then when they leave, that house opens up for somebody else to buy. Somebody's looking to upsize. So
no, there's challenges at every level, and that's a thing that impacts school districts. It impacts Little
everything.
league teams. It impacts all these things that we've touched on a little bit today. Is there's a logjam of people. You know, older adults can't afford to downsize because in a lot of cases, the mortgage is paid off. They're just paying their taxes. As expensive as those taxes are, it's still cheaper than
Rent.
$3,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
So they're kind of stuck unless we give them more opportunities and just have more available to folks.
Yeah. And the Rockland Roundtable episode where you talk about housing, is it episode 2 or 3? I forget which one.
It was the second episode.
Second episode.
So it's already
it
out.
was a good one.
It includes John and Alex, who was our former community development director. And it's a great episode. It dives very deeply into affordable housing and everything basically he's been talking about.
And there's a lot the county is trying to do in support of affordable housing. I won't dive into that today with you because I know we've covered.
I'm a stats
covered
nerd, so we'll talk offline about it. So I love that sort of stuff.
Yeah, have me back and we'll just talk about housing and what the county is supporting and what we're working on. But there's some really exciting stuff happening, and it's going to make things a little bit easier for folks. The more we can do, the easier it gets for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, the Global Rhythms events will be happening this summer. I hope that each of you that are listening to this podcast or watching it, that you participate. There's going to be a lot of activity out there. And the Rockland Roundtable podcast is available on YouTube, Apple Podcast, I believe Spotify as well,
Yeah,
right?
it's on a few of them. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean.
You're on iHeartRadio?
That's right.
I'm jealous.
when you go on Podbean, it allows you to pick all these different channels to push it out to, and that was one of them. So.
I gotta look into that, yeah, because we haven't got it on iHeartRadio yet, but we gotta keep up. We just do, It's a little bit frustrating where it's like, okay, we got it on everything. We got an Apple Podcast, and all of a sudden something brand new like Zizo comes out, and it's like, we gotta be on this one too.
Yeah,
So,
honestly, I don't think you need too many. I think you just cover a few and you'll be fine.
That's good. Yeah, like the main ones, right?
The main ones, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to the more Rockland Roundtable podcasts. I definitely tune into them, and I appreciate you both being here. John Lyon, Chief of Staff. Because you are
He
communications.
was the
Yeah.
former communications director.
4 years
Chief
and
of
I
Staff,
passed the torch.
And then communications director for Rockland County.
That's
What time do y'all start in the morning doing your work? I mean, it's got to be at like 3 a.m. I mean, the stuff that you handle.
John definitely starts at 3 a.m. I start at 9.
You start at 9?
He has a lot more on his plate than I do.
That's why he passed it along to you, so it's a little bit easier.
Well, I think my role is easier than his.
Yeah. Okay.
I won't comment on that. Maybe another day.
That is a government secret, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, it's been great having you here, and thank you for being on the inaugural episode of our video podcast for Rockland's News. I also want to give a special thanks to Brian Heyman from the Bare Wire Studio. He's allowed us to use the studio for doing this series of podcasts, and stay tuned for some messages from our advertisers and sponsors. And again, we appreciate you all being here today on Rockland's News. Thanks a lot.
so much for having us.
Thank you.
Okay.